Welcome to the Brightsight podcast. This is a weekly show provided by Brightsight Security Lab. We're talking about updates on security regulations, requirements, and perspectives on the current cybersecurity developments. Security is becoming more widely used and important at home, work, school, or in your personal life. Think about GDPR and the Cybersecurity Act. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. The more systems we secure, the more secure we all are. Thank you for listening to Brightsight. Hi everyone, and welcome to the 6th episode of Brightsight podcast. And today I have Kai Van back. Hi Kai Van.
Hi Dianta, nice to be back.
Welcome back. And I invited you again to talk about common criteria, as we did last week. So last week we gave you an introduction about the terminology of CC, common criteria. And this week I want to continue the conversation. So what do you want to talk about today, Kai?
Yeah, I heard the episode was so popular. Everyone really liked it, and we have thousands of listeners.
Yes.
Actually, we're publishing it today, I think. I hope a lot of people will like the episode and want to understand a bit more about common criteria or security evaluation in general. We use common criteria because it's really a basis of all the security evaluations you can see. It's just different flavors, but the thinking behind the methodology, they're all based or coming from or stealing from common criteria. That's why we want to, in the beginning of this podcast series, to introduce some of the terminology, the ideas, and the thoughts behind, so that people will have a better idea on what is security evaluation and what we are looking to, or what we are looking for. So that's what I'm going to go into in more detail today. It's about what does common criteria cover, in the sense that what do we look at when we are doing a common criteria evaluation. So normally, when you think about security evaluation or hacking, what do you think about?
Of hackers.
Yeah, someone sitting behind a computer and then typing on a green screen
with a hoodie,
Matrix style. Yeah. So that's generally how people think about security hacking or security evaluation or testing. But actually, it's much more than that. First of all, security is not just about the product. Of course, product is what you get and what you can interact with or hack, but you have to think about other things that might impact the security. One of the very obvious thing is, of course, the life cycle. If you are designing the product, if you have your source code of the product lying around, anyone can see it on the internet. You publish it on your blog, then people will have more opportunity and more chance to look under the hood and to understand the product and see all the vulnerabilities in that thing. So what we look in for security in a common criteria security evaluation, we will also look at the life cycle, how the developers are protecting their assets, how they come up with the idea of the product, how they are going to design it, and what will they do if they find a bug, if they fix all the bugs in the product before it is out. What will they do with their configuration management? Do they have a good version control and all the things? So some things you might not think is related to security, but to quality. But actually, it is really security relevant. The most important thing in common criteria is that you want to make sure what you make is exactly what you have designed. And how do you make sure that happens? A lot of quality things to see if no one is adding additional backdoors into your product during the development. So you have access control, you have people looking and reviewing all the codes that finally will get into the final product. You'll have people in the manufacturing side, and so that no one can just steal hundreds of the product and try to hack them, because they have many, they don't have to buy. And also when they are delivered to your customers, you are making sure that your customer can check that this is something that I ordered and not something that is already replaced by a faulty product. So all these things are included in, let's say, higher assurance common criteria evaluation. In lower assurance, you don't have to prove that much. So you have to let the evaluator know how you are doing certain things. But there is, for example, no site audit at EO1 or EO2. EO3, it depends on the certification body. For the Dutch certification body, sometimes they don't require the site audits. But from EO4, then you have to do the site audits and that kind of thing. And that's also one of the part that is really tricky for the developers, because when it is about the product, you have everything under your control. But when it's about making a product and the whole life cycle, then you have your partners, because not everyone can design the product and then make the product. And then the most obvious example is chips. So normally you don't have your own foundry, you don't have your own mask shop, and you have to outsource this kind of thing. So and how do you make sure that these partners will support you in going through a common criteria evaluation? So that's all quite tricky things to make sure of, and that's also why we always recommend developers to start early, to find out all the issues and spend time on it, to reach your goal. And so that's one of the parts. If you are watching it on podcast or Bilibili or other things with image, then you can also see the figure that we have on the screen. And that's basically the scope of a full evaluation. It's from the product on the left side, is security, target, it defines the product, and all the way to the right side, delivering to the customer, and everything in it, including testing. Including AOC, there's a life cycle that I just mentioned, but also testing. And testing is not only what we do as evaluation lab. We do vulnerability analysis and try to hack the product. But there's also one thing very important, is that if the developer is doing sufficient self-testing to make sure that what you are put out to the market is really doing what it does. And this kind of testing are mostly functional testing. But in common criteria, you have to make sure that you have tested broad enough and in depth, also deep enough into your module and subsystems, and that requirements will be more complicated or more thorough and complete when you go for higher assurance thing, and that's a very difficult part also, because sometimes you don't test that deep when you are just doing the development. But now you have to test all the security functionality until very detailed interfaces and the interactions between the modules. So that is also something you need time to prepare. Yeah. Also how you write your test plan and all the things. And we will also pick a sample or think of some functional testing we can do to see if the test plan or all the tests that developer does is complete. So that's also a very big part. And of course, design phase. How do you design and the product implementation and design? That means basically you have to break your product down into subsystems and modules. that will give a clear overview on how you implement your security functions. And at the EO4 and above, you have to use the source code and the layout of the chip and all the details, the most detailed stuff, to see if the design is as you claimed and if there is no vulnerability in that. And with all these knowledges combined about the product, the design, the life cycle, the testing, and your guidance on how to use and install this product, will come up with a vulnerability analysis and see if we can think of testing that are easy enough, or we say low enough attack potential to hack the product within the boundary we set, or within the EAL level with the attack potential that we set. So basically, that's the scope of full common criteria evaluation. And if you look at some evaluation like the post-terminal PCI evaluations, you'll see, for example, the life cycle part is not so huge. So in version 2.1, it's not even life cycle, but slowly we see life cycle requirements, but still no site audits. So these are the different flavors of security evaluation. They can choose the parts they think is most relevant and to the need, and that's basically it.
Okay, and time to market is also very important in this industry. So we have low and high assurance. And what is the difference in terms of the time frames?
The difference in terms of the time frame, normally for EO2, it will be something like 3 to 6 months, and EO3 also in that range, and EO4 will be 6 to 9 months. But of course, it depends on what kind of product it is, because if it's an IC, it is very complicated. So, and it involves a lot of different parties. It will be different than just doing a EO4 on a simple device. So that really varied per case. But indeed, in Brightsight, we use a lot of knowledge and experience to make sure the time to market is satisfies the need of the developer. And how we do it is to cover all the risk as early as possible. And we offer a workshop. We offered different style of evaluation methods to customers, so that all the risk can be covered early on, and they are sure when they go for a formal evaluation, it will be finished within the time that they want. So if you have any questions on common criteria or other security evaluation or in security in general, please let us know.
Let us know via the website or LinkedIn, Twitter, Bilibili. See you next week. Thank you for listening to Bright Insight. In the next episodes, we will cover different topics, such as the EU Cybersecurity Act, the business case of security evaluations, common criteria, SASIP, IoT, and software-based security. Stay tuned and subscribe on brightsight.com.